You know the YouTubers that always tell you to never play video games in your life again? That seems a little extreme, but they do make some fair points.
His kill count is in the hundreds, but that's in the virtual world. But in the real world, Jeffrey is a loser.
Maybe it is better to completely remove video games out of your life and just focus on work and hanging out with your friends. However, video games can be a great way for people to relax, right? And reward yourself after having a hard day. I mean, the point of life is to enjoy it. So let me use science and research to answer this question. Are video games a waste of time? So let's look at the reasons why someone says that they play video games. A lot of people say that they play video games to wind down before bed or to relax after a hard day. So what's the research got to say on this? Many of the sources I found have said that video games are a great stress reliever, given that it makes you forget about your problems in the moment and increases dopamine quite a lot. There are some exceptions to this, which I can only support through bro science, but games like Rainbow Six Siege or Call of Duty, or any other high-stress multiplayer games, probably won't help you de-stress too much. I mean, people screaming the N-word at each other and getting mad over their teammates not getting a good KDR just doesn't seem like the correct mixture for winding down for bed. Unless you rage quit, maybe that's gonna help you sleep. It's also very possible that people get guilty from playing video games. I'm personally one of those people where if I play a video game for a long time, or even like 30 minutes in, the question always pops into my head. You could be working right now. Why aren't you grinding? Why aren't you getting to work? Why aren't you doing something? This is why I'm a terrible person to play video games with, because I'll ask my friends to play some video game with me, and we'll play it for a good amount of time, maybe like 5 or 6 hours the first like 2 days. And then I'll ghost them for a month, talk to them in person and whatnot, but I won't play video games for another month. And then I'll play it for 2 days and the cycle continues. Because playing a video game just gives me a whole bunch of anxiety. And after the second day, I just can't handle it anymore. I basically say to myself I have to make up for those lost days that I just had. I can't even fully enjoy the game anymore because my mind's too caught up on what I could be doing. But for people that aren't like that, there's a couple of things you should keep in mind if you're trying to relax with video game. One, it won't make your problems go away, which we'll talk about more later. And two is that playing video games within an hour of going to bed is not going to help you relax because the light you get from your screen is going to impact how fast you fall asleep for one and how quality it is for two. So it's a much better idea to just grab a Kindle or something and read a book for 30 minutes before going to bed. Alright, socialization. This is another big one that I hear from basically my friends all the time when I tell them to stop playing video games. And there's a couple problems and a couple of things that are correct about this. So video games can make a lot of sense for making friends because especially people in our generation, we have pretty terrible social skills. And so it's just more comfortable to just talk to someone through a screen and not have to just go out into the open and just start talking to people. Now there are plenty of stories of friendships, even marriages happening online. I mean, there's this one about Lords Mobile, which is pretty funny. But I mean, if they could get married through the app, then can't you find a friend? Well, these friendships don't give the same value as normal friendships, as humans are created to have face-to-face conversations. And while you are talking to someone, your brain knows you're talking to someone, but other parts of your brain don't know that you're talking to someone and just thinks that you're lonely and that you need to find someone to talk to and you need to connect with your tribe. Otherwise, you can get left out by yourself as a lone wolf and you're gonna die. I mean, there's plenty of studies that show that face-to-face communication is just completely superior to video games. And this doesn't even include the many games that have toxic social environments, like the Call of Duties and the Rainbow Six Sieges. Another thing I noticed is that most of the people that said that they play video games to make friends are really just using it as an excuse to play more video games. Because they're not really playing a video game, they're really just trying to make friends. And so they're either using it as an excuse, or they're hoping that suddenly out of nowhere, someone becomes extra talkative, and they live in the same area within 30 minutes of each other. And he's not a catfish, and he's not creepy, and he's around their age. And all of these stars aligning to have a friend. And if a real goal of yours is to actually socialize, and make friends, then just going out into the world and talking to people is so much more effective for your time. It may be more difficult, but that's only because you have little experience, and if you just worked at it for 6 months, then you'd be in a much better spot. I'll actually probably make a video in the future about how I overcame actual diagnosed social problems and turned them into being an extroverted person. Alright, next is entertainment. Entertainment is very large when it comes to video games, for obvious reasons. Entertainment is valuable, it's very fun. However, achieving any sort of happiness without actually doing any work is not good for your mind or your body. Doing this is called short-term gratification. And every single wise man across history, whether that be from the ancient times, Jesus, the Enlightenment, Buddha, all those guys, they'll tell you that short-term gratification is the problem. You can trace many of the rules to religions based on banning many things that's short-term gratification. That's why I believe Islam doesn't allow music, because it brings you dopamine without having any reason for it. That's because short-term gratification leads to all the problems in a person's life. That's why you see the most productive people very rarely play video games. And if they are playing video games, you can usually see a hidden motive behind it. So that's the end of the video. You shouldn't play video games ever because they're short-term gratification. Well, there is a way you can use video games to increase your productivity, especially if you've never been a productive person in your life. And that is to use video games as a reward for being productive. Doing things like deep work is very hard to stay consistent with. Even today, when I'm 3 months deep into using deep work, and even today, right here, right now, I have a problem staying consistent. Right now the time is around 12:30 and I set up to start recording at 12. So I wasted a good 20-25 minutes when I could have already had this video done and recorded. And apparently when I was writing this script, I spent 45 minutes watching productivity videos instead of doing the actual productive task in front of me. The irony is painful. So if you still really want to play video games, and you don't think you could just drop them, use them as a reward for productive tasks. But be careful that you're not just using video games as an excuse for short-term gratification. And last is to escape from the real world. This one, I can definitely understand. Every single person is gonna go through tough times in their life. Some so tough that they consider the worst of options. And some where video games are just an escape from the constant pain of their life. You know, these people that have abusive parents, or they have no friends, or they're stuck in New York City with no family around, going to college for a degree that's not going to make them any money while they're in huge student debt. I feel for these people. I've never experienced what they have, but I do understand that it's hard. But it's not what's best for them. If you are one of these people, it's much better, instead of playing video games to escape, to understand that you just gotta put all your time into fixing the problem instead of running away from it. Whether that be creating a business, reconnecting with family, going out there and trying to make friends, whatever is tearing you apart, run towards it instead of away from it. Stay away from the imaginary world and run towards the real world. So what is the takeaway? After all this, it seems like video games should be kept a treat. Treating video games more like ice cream and less like water will be much better for your productivity in your life. And the last thing I want to put in here, I didn't bring up esports because that's like a 0.001% chance of happening to anybody. And basically you will have wasted everything if you don't get on an esports team. Like, at least if you try to be like a professional like football player, you would have gotten fit out of it, you would have learned a lot, you would have made some friends. Video games doesn't have any of that benefits. But if you found this video helpful in any way, make sure to subscribe. As I'm a small channel, I can take all the help I can get. And don't forget to put in the work, put in the hour, and think better. That's Dylan, out.